time people mention Nostradamus, well, how can anyone believe in prophecy in this 21st century? I mean, look at these quatrains. 942, and tell me any one of them that is not vague. Or any one of them that someone has decoded before the event actually unfolded. Well, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I mean, I know you don't know what Nostradamus meant, but you obviously do not know what was in his prophecy. Even though 500 years have passed, people still do not have any clues on how to decode Nostradamus. Not until we figured some of it. Honestly, it's not as hard as you may think. For example, in early spring 2020, I typed the word plague, and 26 predictions came up. It literally spelled out all the countries hit by the first corona wave. Hinted in two puzzles, USA and UK, as those two were spared by the first wave, but hit hard by the second wave. It talked about a cure, or I should say the lack of it. It pointed to the real cure, which is in our 23rd DNA sets. It even talked about Wuhan and even the Princess ship. I know you don't believe me, nor did Amazon, as they blocked my popular book in April 2020. Geez. I wish more people had gotten the warnings and took better precautions. Is it too late? For the ones who have lost everything, yes, it may be too late, but for us who are still fighting, I think we can defeat the virus. I wrote a few Nostradamus books and published 77 videos. I'm not an expert, but my grassroots approach sometimes reveals things experts have overlooked. However, a few times, I have pointed to the right direction. However, I have to admit that the puzzle we put together is still a bit blurry. Usually we will get the true meaning after the prediction has been fulfilled. I will give you a very good example on one of the 26 plague quatrains. We said this about the UK in our March 2020 book, and then we tried to refresh your memory by updating the decoding and sharing with you another warning we found on the UK in the January 2021 video, Virus, Antichrist, and Boris Johnson, according to Nostradamus. We knew this is about the UK because it mentioned three brothers and the Marine City. I recall saying in the book, how can the world be troubled by three brothers? The Queen may be constantly troubled by arguments between England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, but the world could care less about them. But when the UK COVID variant spread all over the world, I realized what it really meant. In Century 8, Quatrain 17, quote,
"Those at ease will suddenly be cast down. The world, yes, the world put into trouble by three brothers. Their enemies will seize the Marine City. Hunger, fire, blood, plague, all evils doubled."
It is impossible to find this prediction out of Nostradamus' 942 quatrains. But he made it easy by using the word plague in line 4. And since he used it only 26 times, I found it in March and figured some part of it out. Marine City helped me narrow it down to a few cities including London, while three brothers made me realize that is for sure the UK, as it means England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. While I jokingly said Scotland may not like to be called a brother when they feel more like a couple about to sign the divorce papers. We know there are troubles among these three brothers, but why would the world be troubled by it? And now we know, right? The UK was at ease at the start of the pandemic. They watched as Europe being put to an inferno while they had very few cases. As an island, the UK could have better protected itself. But Boris's government failed in the early pandemic days. So, UK not only caught up with its European neighbors, it topped the global charts in deaths per million. Worst hit in Europe at the end of 2020. UK then approved the use of the vaccine and efficiently gave out shots. Quickly, cases and deaths both dropped, but the virus spread all over, and the world was indeed troubled. This proved the first two lines are right on. Nostradamus then stated in the third line, their enemies will seize the Marine City. I assume Marine City is London. As of January 21, 2021, when we released the last video, London had 620,223 infected. London has about 9 million people. That means 7% of all Londoners got infected. Please note that is based on data from January 21, 2021. And the UK has since added 126,011 cases during the last 4 days. While even experts agreed that the actual cases are much, much worse than reported. So, was Nostradamus right on calling the enemy, I mean the coronavirus, would seize the Marine City? Since the first three lines were fulfilled, we must pay attention. The last line talked about hunger, fire, blood, plague, all evils doubled. Please note the first line described the start of the pandemic and how the government lost the war before it started. The second line identified what will happen next, gave clues on which country it is talking about. It hinted the problems to come will start at the UK and devastate the world. The third line gave a second confirmation about the location of this variant and the doomed fate of London. Then the fourth line warns about how much worse it will become. Ugh. I will not speculate on what will happen next, because the fourth line is definitely not vague. But it seems like things will get worse, with deaths and infections most likely doubling from current levels until we have it under control. And food shortages will likely lead to riots with casualties. And the beloved city will be overtaken by evil. No one can dispute that COVID-19 has changed our lives. Nostradamus made so many detailed predictions on the virus, but we did not understand. I could say that we realized its meaning after the pandemic started. But could there be warnings still in the book of prophecy? Many predictions about American President Trump were right on. And 3 years ago, we found clues linked in time with France's Yellow Vest movement. We revealed what we saw and sadly saw that the pandemic started what we were most afraid of. But will there be any predictions about Prime Minister Boris Johnson? I don't know anything about UK politics, but recent news about Brexit said Boris Johnson was the reason for Brexit to happen when he jumped on Brexit while working as Mayor of London. That reminded me about a strange prediction I saw before. So I found this prediction instantly with the word London.
The chief of London through the realm of America, the Isle of Scotland will be tried by frost. King and Reb will face an Antichrist so false that he will place them in the conflict altogether.
That first line is actually the puzzle easiest to solve, which is like the rabbit we followed into Alice's Wonderland. The next one is a warning about some deep freeze coming to Scotland, which I believe has yet to happen. And that is also a clue leading to the third line. Kings and Reb will face an Antichrist so false. The UK has a queen, so this warning will mostly happen when the queen passes the crown. When we released this video 3 months ago, I thought the queen will never quit. But the queen is now devastated over losing her husband. So will she quit? Then, as indicated here, King and Red will face an Antichrist so false that he will place them in the conflict altogether. There will be conflict, I think most likely from inside, and the Antichrist will make the situation worse. I don't want to repeat what I have said already in our prior videos, but I want to point to something shocking. Many Nostradamus' predictions are clustered together. So I looked at Century 10, Quatrain 67, which indicated earthquake. Well, we have so many front-page volcano news. Is that a sign that the world is not settling? And then in Century 10, Quatrain 68, quote, "The army of the sea will stand before the city. Then it will leave without making a long passage. A great flock of citizens will be seized on land. Flee to return to seize it great robbery." I will urge you to go check our January video and verify if we said military ship will block the city. I use the word military because Nostradamus used army. Man, does he know military of sea is called navy? I don't know why I picked the word block, but I did say that in the decoding. And then I realized 3 weeks ago, Nostradamus is confirming the timeline by telling us about the Suez Canal block. Doesn't the strained ships look like army of sea? They stood before the city. When the canal was unblocked on March 29, 2021, most ships did leave without making a long passage. And indeed, the shortage of food merchandise did cause a great flock of citizens seized on land. During this time, world ocean freight charges increased dramatically and the stock price of shipping carriers jumped. They made a bunch of money over people's misfortune. Shouldn't we call that fleet to return to seize it great robbery? We got the idea right, but we never thought the Suez Canal could be blocked like that. And the events happened during and after are predicted by Nostradamus. I know how crazy it may sound, but I think Nostradamus was right on in this prediction. The quatrain used this to confirm the other warnings so we can be careful. Maybe a big earthquake is coming. What will it be? I don't think the huge earthquake will happen in May 2021 because the UK still has a queen. It will happen after Scotland has a deep freeze, the UK has a new king, and fights from within make the world one crazy place. Sadly, if we can't work together, we have to struggle a long ways before we can see light at the end of the tunnel. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.